Yo guys, I'm HP, this is Dr. Pink, and today's topic is the perfect rock guitar sound. Somebody requested this tutorial and I thought it would be of general interest, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Yeah, we're going to work a little bit with different settings, but before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button, and also join the HPCrazy Academy. If you have more questions in detail, you can ask there. I'm gladly to help. So, what are we talking about today? Rock guitar sound. The perfect rock guitar sound, and the question itself cannot be answered. It's like if you ask a cook, well, how do you make a perfect steak? You know, it's kind of a philosophy, but a few things can be talked about, and those are gonna talk about here. I'm working here with I get often asked what my gear is in the studio. Several ways I'm doing sounds, but in this case I work with my Fractal Audio X FX3 device, and that's the software to it. And here I can make really swift changes that you see what we're talking about. Okay, first tip, take what you have, you know, your guitar. In this case, this is well, it's an Epiphone, but it's an Epiphone Elitist with a normal Gibson pickups. It's basically the same like a Gibson Les Paul Studio. So we have different pickup settings, and we just talk about the two main pickup settings. You of course work with the bridge pickup to get this really rock guitar sound. If you work with the neck pickup, that's more if you want to do really carrying solos, you know. Then you have a more thick sound, but some players say, no, I like it. I always play on the bridge pickup. So here's the first thing, you know, you cannot really tell. So you need to check how your guitar sounds and see how it works out. And the best thing to really examine all these parts is to first start with the sound with absolutely the minimum. In this case, I'm using a British green amp and the 4x4 cabinet, and that's it. No reverb, no delay, nothing, no compression, just to get the pure sound. And then now you hear the pure sound of your guitar in this certain environment, okay? A big part of it is the playing technique, you know. Playing power chords seems to be easy, you know, it's just... But the trick is that they really bite so much. Of course, the guitar has to be perfect tuned, but if you don't make a proper damping technique that you really can go through the stringing, you know, really push my pick hard through the strings, and this gives this extra bite, and this doesn't come from the effects or your amp, it comes from your playing technique, okay? So that's one big part which you have a major influence just on your guitar, and it's not your sound equipment. The second thing is the distortion, of course. That's really a topic, I must say. And there are many things to talk about distortion. I mean, there are a lot of pedals around. I personally don't like them, so I will not talk about pedals. But one thing you can say in general about distortion or pedals or overdrive, if you work with tube pedals or overdrive, you have a more dynamic sound setting. What does that mean? If you play on low volume settings, you can do adjusts here on your guitar. See? Then you can get nearly a clean sound. And if you attack the chord soft, then it sounds nearly like a clean sound. It's the same sound. Now I attack hard. And now the sound starts to bite, and when I put the volume on maximum, okay, so that's a main thing which really works. Of course, the amplifier also makes a big difference. By the way, also on soloing, if you have, if you have a solo, you can make dynamic solos like, and then you go up with the level. And now we have, for this amplifier, maximum distortion, but we're going to talk about this as well. So, and this way you can also create these several types of distortion. And what is really important, that you can control your tone. Tone control is the main thing when it comes to distortion on rock guitar. So your vibrato technique and your bending technique is really important. And is a really good advice if you practice that stuff without without any effects, just with this totally dry sound, like an old amplifier with no effects, just standing in a room, in a total dry room. Okay, and then you can start to work with the different types of more distortion. See, same thing, but I put up the volume. What you also can do, and now quickly I have to go to the software. You have the gain like on 4. Now let me go to the, let's say 7, and see how the sound changed. Now you have more this typical so-called tube saturation effect. As you can hear it, it's this creamy type of. Do you hear that? And this is like a compression. We're going to talk about compression later, but now we just take the minimal equipment, okay? And now we have kind of a compression. We can even put this more up. And original amps, original tube amps, they had a master volume. They're really very early amps. They just had one volume, and the louder they got, the more the tube saturation you got, and the more sustain you got on the sound. See? And that's really important. Later on, the problem was then the amps got too loud, and probably didn't work out, so they had to put the volume down, but then the sustain was gone. And the thing to solve this was you work with the master volume and with the level. So if you want to have more of this tube saturation effect, you put on the master volume as high as possible. Now put it on 10. But then, of course, the signal gets too loud. Then you put the normal level, the final level down. See, now you have maximum tube saturation. And now again you can work with volume again if you want. In any stage of distortion, you can do that. And so really makes really sense that you check how you go through this range. Still just really minimum sound setting. Now here I have a lot of sustain here, even I have no compression, nothing at all. Okay, so that's really an important part of the whole thing. What a lot of amps have the presence thing. With presence you can take a sound more in the front or in the back, and the more of high frequencies you have, the more it's in front, is more aggressive, and with presence you can also push it in the backwards. Let me go here now to see, it's now more backwards, and when I push it to the work out with the maximum settings, minimum and maximum settings, to see the effect which you have. Now I go on the maximum. See, it's now more in front. Maybe you don't like that on a certain song, it doesn't really work. Then put the presence down. The EQ, I always have the EQ on mid position so that it has no effect. And I really work here, and if I really If you cut the high notes, like the treble, then you miss the overtones. See how the overtones come if you cut them. I cut them now here on the guitar. Well, you get different ones. It's really, as I said, it's a philosophy. It's not a way to do or not to do. I'm just explaining the several functions which are available. But the main thing till now, I just wanted to tell you, is that the main thing happens on the guitar in interaction with the amplifier. And when you work with tube simulations or a normal tube amp, the so-called dynamic range is way better than any kind of transition or cheap simulations. Cheap simulations, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the cheap products anymore, but they work. But in this thing, they lack. You know, if you put the max distortion level, you think, oh, it's cool, it works. But when you want to get those dynamic shifts, they honestly don't really work anymore. That's basically the main features which you can really work on. If you change, I'm going to take another amp now, one which is hotter. You know, several amps, they don't have the maximum distortion. Others are hotter, like this one. I switched now to British Orange. You can already hear it's way hotter. That means you have more sustain, but you can hear also a lot of noise. Well, some people use a noise gate to avoid this. Maybe I can switch it on. Is there one here? I think there was one, but the point is when you use noise gates cut off frequencies. And I mean, if you hear it like here, you can hear this hum, okay? But when you play, let's say in a track, you don't really hear it anymore, but you still have the maximum overtones and the maximum frequencies which come. As soon as you use a noise gate, you probably have you have no noises in the pauses, but some frequencies are missing, and for some players it's not really cool. For others maybe it is. I would say if you work in a top 40 environment, probably you better use a noise gate, because between the meals where you play music, people don't want to hear these extra hum noises. You know, as I said, it's really a philosophy. You just need to know what it's all about. Okay, so let me go back to the other amp. The green one, see, is not so hot. So all these noises are gone. Now let's add a first effect. Reverb is the one which is used most, but some players, they don't use any effects. You can take Angus Young is a good example, AC/DC. Maybe he has a really short reverb on his guitars, but I don't think so, because they originally came from the 70s. And these amps, they didn't have any effects. So then, if you want to really go for the retro feel, you work without any reverb, and you just use the effect of the room you're playing in. And here the studio is really small. You don't hear it probably over the mic, but there's a little effect on it. Yeah, but if you want to work with reverb, let me switch it on. I mean, it can be nice. I work with a lot of reverb, but the one thing which most people don't understand, if you want to have wide sounds with a lot of reverb type of sound, it's not coming from the reverb. The reverb just makes the sound flat and a little bit wide, okay? Now you think it's loud, but when you play in a song or in an environment, you can hear it, and it really depends on the production which you're working on. And some, I mentioned AC/DC. AC/DC was this really tough, straight ahead rock. Their reverb doesn't really work out. I don't think so. It makes sense. They have no reverb, and it really depends on the production which you are doing. But if you want to have a wider sound, don't make it with the reverb. And of course, there are different types of reverb. I mean, if you don't want to have the total dry signal, you probably take a room. I don't know, small. Let me search for something small. Small room here. I've chosen small room now. See, sounds like before, but has a little effect on it. You think you're sitting in a closet. When I put the level up, I often have it on 20%, not more, but if you put it up, now you can hear the room, okay? But in productions, you don't really, I mean, if you want this as an effect, it's okay, but normally you put it around 20%. And together with the things which I just said before with the dynamic stuff, it just makes things more smooth and, you know, makes it more, it's like probably the I don't know, the gravy on the steak, okay? Let's put it that way. You know, so that was reverb. Let's check compression. What is a compression is one of the most not understood effects of all. What is a compression doing? Compression is basically, it squeezes the sound. You know, if you play very soft to very loud, you have a low volume level, high volume level, and it squeezes it. You know, the high pitches squeezes them down and the low ones pushes them up. So it squeezes it and compresses it, that it comes like this. And like in, you know, if you listen to any mainstream radios, they have a lot of compression because somehow that works best for this kind of thing, that everything has the same volume and has no dynamic shift at all. And that is exactly the problem. If you work with compression, let me switch that one on now. You can already hear it. You probably get a little bit more sustain, but these effects with the volume knob, they're not so strong anymore. So if you want to have this direct access to these dynamic shifts, which I explained at the very beginning, then I would avoid compression. If you want to have these high notes and really bum, 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 you know, in one volume band, then you work with compression. And compression is always first in the effect row, okay? Good. I'm gonna switch it off again because, as I said, I don't really like compression. I just use it when I have a lot of sustain on high gain lead settings. Then it can, for me, make sense, because then it really keeps the notes like forever if you work with the vibrato, because it always pushes the low volume notes up and keeps it going and going and going. But you can write books about compression, but I want to keep this tutorial somehow kind of short. For me personally, the most important effect is the delay. because the delay makes you that room which you want and makes your sound wide. In this case, I'm using a ping pong delay. There's a lot of delays. If you have a normal amp, you cannot use stereo delays because you only have one speaker. If you have two speakers and you use stereo delays, if you want to get the stereo delay or the ping pong delay really out, then it moves from left to right, or right to left. See, now it goes tuk, 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 tuk. And the delay settings, it really depends. If you're an experienced player and you play precise, it basically it's a multiplier of what you do. You have to be really precise. The delay only makes sense when you put it on the tempo of the song. So if we have this song here, that's the tempo. So you have to put in oops. Let me quickly put it again. If you know the speed of the song, you just put in the BPM and then put the repeat on quarter note, or you can put it on half note, then you just have half time, or on eighths, you put it double time. It also works. I work a lot with on quarter note, but it really depends what you want. And it has to be synced with the tempo of the song. If you know it, you just put in the BPM number. If not, which is mostly the case, then you put it in with the tap function. Every device has now a tap function, okay? But if your drummer in your band doesn't keep the tempo and you get faster till the end of the song, you have to adjust the tempo, of course, because as I said, it sums up, multiply, and gives you exactly this roomy, long sound. Yo. Now suddenly you have this reverb effect, but it didn't come from the reverb, it comes from the delay. And I probably thought it was too strong. That has one reason. The lower your distortion level is, the stronger the delay effect is. And with low distortion levels, I want to make it too strong because it doesn't really sound cool. But if you have, let me switch back to the orange one. High gain level, high gain distortion level. Still the same effect. Now we have even more noise. Can you hear it? I think, oh, that's really terrible. But if you put it in the sound, then you have this reverb. See, now suddenly you have this wide sound, and it comes from the delay. You can experiment with the feedback level. Feedback level, I have, in this case, it was on more than 20%, okay? You have to check out. Guys like Joe Satriani, they have 7 repeats, and I like that. In this case, we had 5 repeats. I will not go over 7 repeats, but sometimes it's also cool. Again, now we're talking about the French fry to your steak, okay? I mean, it's up to you what you want to do, but and the mix level makes how strong you hear it, and you really need to check out. On some songs, you need a lot of mix level that you really hear it, or long feedbacks, which are longer than others, and these are things to consider, which if it fits into the song, okay? And as I said, the delay is a multiplies what goes in. So if you don't have all the things together, which I just talked about in I think in the last 30 minutes, then I always say if sh goes in, sh comes out. If you don't have these things together, don't work with a lot of delays, then you have short delays. But some guys like Carlos Santana, he worked with no delay. Gary Moore, probably he had always one repeat on most of his recordings. Probably also because the technology at those times was not so far that like long repeats could work. He worked with tape delays. They sound different. I'll show you here. Tape delay. I've once seen such a amp. It's just an old tape which just records what is played and repeats it and goes in a in a circle. See, that works different than a digital delay. The analog delay is more warm, more creamy, and it's a philosophy on its own. But when you work with rock guitar, often especially in lead guitar settings, I would work with delays, but some guys, as I said, they don't like that. But like John Petrucci, he has really a wide sound. He for sure works with compression. And also, if you want to have this wide, fat lead guitar, then I recommend the neck pickup compared to... It really depends. And also on playing technique, for tremolo picking, the neck pickup is easier. You know, instead of this one, because then you don't hear the attack of your pick so much. See, here you hear more, and that's probably not really cool. John Petrucci, as an example, he plays often on the neck pickup on his solos, but to get this really soft and wide and sustainable lead guitar sound. But as I said, there are many players, many philosophies, and it's things to work out. Maybe I want to end up with adding chorus. Chorus is one thing in the 80s that was quite common. They called this effect detune, which was basically a chorus. Eddie Van Halen was a guy who always had a detune effect on his guitar sound, and as I said, it's a chorus, but it's not, on a low mix level. I'm gonna put the mix up a little bit again to hear the difference. Works a little bit like compression, but it gives this cheesy 80s types of sound. You can like it or not like it. I don't like it, so I often or never use chorus. Really, very rarely. Only if I really gonna want to go for an 80s sound. But that's one thing you can use. Same with all other modulation effects, flanger, phaser. It's the same thing. If you want to have a certain effect with flanger, phaser. Here I have a flanger. Let me see. It's the same as chorus. In the 70s, flanger and phaser was quite popular, probably because it was new, and you heard a few songs where they overused this effect. As I said, it really depends what you want to do and where you want to go. All other effects are too specific. I personally started to work with multi-delays, like more than one delay at the same time. It's a really cool effect to get a really modern sound. But this is now too much to put it into this tutorial. And I think these are the most important things. Oh yes, if you want to have with the volume, I mean you can have a volume pedal, then you can do these swell sounds. Or with the volume pedal, that's also a specific thing. Now I think I've talked. Oh, I forgot. Wah, exactly. Wah. Let me quickly install the wah. I forgot that I will talk about the wah. Okay, now we have a wah. I get often asked if I use an auto wah. I wouldn't use an auto wah because, again, wah just is an additional expression which you can add on notes or on runs. And the main thing is when you want to put a maximum expression on a note, you come from, then you, it's like a gas pedal, you just press in, see now, press in. And together with the delay and the vibrato, it gives a special effect. Or if you make them, let me quickly switch off this. Oh, okay, it's now the normal delay. Yo. That really works. Or if you want to go to this, if you want to make fast runs sound faster, does really kick in. Then you use the wah as well. Somehow it doesn't really kick in the way I want. I have a new foot pedal and I need to check it out why it didn't work the way it should. Yo, but that's the way wah is used. And then you use the wah to create this motion as well. Yep. Good. That's all about the rock guitar sound. As I said, each aspect which I was talking about is a philosophy on its own and can be discussed over hours with some really guitar nerds. And I can share some secrets here. Especially with the tube saturation, I really work with fractal audio. It's possible that the tube saturation kicks in on a certain attack level with your pick, and thus gives, for real nerds, that opens up a brand new universe if you get in the region of that sphere of guitar nerdiness, you know. But as I said, that's basically the main things you need to know about the rock guitar sound, and the rest is experience, testing, trying out, checking how it works in a song, works with a guitar, with an amp. Also the room which you're playing in is also, you can have your perfect sound at home, everything is programmed, then you go in another environment, you go to a venue, want to play there, and the room is different, and then it doesn't work anymore, it doesn't exactly do this what you wanted. That's also something to consider. And if you're not really a famous guitar player, which most of us are not, when you come to the sound check, the drummer always gets 20 minutes, the singer gets a half an hour, and the guitar player has probably 1 minute, is mostly last in the sound check. And they say, okay, play, rhythm, lead, finished. So you don't have much time. Yeah, good. Yo, now I shared all my knowledge. I hope it could help you, and see you guys. And please subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, please join the HPCrazy Guitar Academy. And if you want to support the work which me and Dr. Pink are doing for you guys, please make a premium membership upgrade, even if, well, in this tutorial you don't get a special benefit like a download, but still please make the premium membership upgrade. Bye guys.